Yes, it is Temper Tantrum Thursday here with Donald Trump at Occupy Democrats. Welcome in. In this breaking story, I always find it fascinating how for the last 10 plus years the American people have seemed to decide that somehow because Donald Trump has buildings that he's a good businessman. Let us remind you, this is a guy who filed bankruptcy 6 times and brags about how he has used the tax code to his advantage, to which he's actually been proven guilty of fraud for doing. And yet, people still buy that we should listen to this guy's advice. Well, in this breaking story, Trump gets starkly reminded he does not have an MBA in applied economics and he's not an expert. Remember, take a listen to this real quick about he and Mr. Powell. This.
Accordingly, it is my pleasure and my honor to announce my nomination of Jerome Powell to be the next chairman of the Federal Reserve.
Oh yeah, I'm very proud, but then yet, oddly, when he doesn't get what he wants, Dipstick Donnie doesn't even recall he's the one who appointed him. This.
I was surprised he was appointed. I was surprised, frankly, that Biden put him in and extended him.
And just as Trump has done his whole life, hence the Epstein case or anything else, all he does is try to bully people into doing what he wants done. But Powell, in terms of the economy and all of the tariff game Trump's playing, Powell is having none of it in this breaking story, which I'll show you in a few seconds. Listen to him right here, push back.
At today's meeting, the committee decided to maintain the target range for the federal funds rate at 4.25% to 4.5% and to continue reducing the size of our balance sheet. We will continue to determine the appropriate stance of monetary policy based on the incoming data, the evolving outlook, and the balance of risks. Changes to government policies continue to evolve, and their effects on the economy remain uncertain.
Well, if that happens, then we just raise them. What you do is you lower them, and let's see if there's inflation. Right now, there's no inflation. Everybody thought there would be. All we have is billions of dollars of cash pouring into our country.
Higher tariffs have begun to show through more clearly to prices of some goods, but their overall effects on economic activity and inflation remain to be seen.
So if that happens, what you do is you raise your rates, and you do what you have to do to stop inflation. But we're keeping the rates high, and it's hurting people from buying houses.
It is also possible that the inflationary effects could instead be more persistent, and that is a risk to be assessed and managed.
That's right, Donald. You're not going to get your way. And so when Donald woke up this morning and decided to go off on Truth Social, this is what the president of whiny United States had to say right here.
Too angry, too stupid, and too political. Trump flips out in early morning blow-up. President Donald Trump went after Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell early Thursday in yet another rant over his continued refusal to drop interest rates, calling him a total loser and blaming him for costing our country trillions of dollars. Jerome, too late, Powell has done it again. Trump wrote in a post on his social media platform, Truth Social. He is too late and actually too angry, too stupid, and too political to have the job of Fed chair. He is costing our country trillions of dollars, in addition to one of the most incompetent or corrupt renovations of a buildings in the history of construction. Put another way, too late is a total loser, and our country is paying the price. Trump has long called for Powell to lower interest rates, which currently sit at around 4.33%, and has floated the idea of replacing him in his spot leading the Federal Reserve. After receiving some blowback, however, Trump has walked that idea back and instead has shifted to launching an investigation into Powell over a series of renovations to the central bank headquarters in Washington, D.C. Trump has also labeled Powell as a partisan actor, pointing to the interest rate cuts he and the Federal Reserve implemented under former President Joe Biden. Experts warn, however, that should Trump ultimately replace Powell with someone willing to cut interest rates to his desired rate of 1%, real-world interest rates and prices could increase significantly, causing investor panic and a loss of credibility in the United States.
What I find fascinating about this story, and oddly about far too many of the American voters, I'm going to continue to say American voters because 35+% of America didn't vote, and less than 40% of America voted for Donald Trump. And so let's be clear. Donald Trump was born on third base. By the time he was 10 years old, he was halfway to home. His dad gave him $1 million when he was 10. 98% of Americans don't even have any money to invest in anything. So when Donald Trump or anyone else, any other Republican, GOP, anyone barks about trying to get the interest rate down to 1%, that is only once again in favor of all of the multimillionaires, high-end millionaires, and billionaires up to closing in on being trillionaires. It only services them because they're the only ones who can actually really win with that. The reason why the Federal Reserve is supposed to be non-political is because they're supposed to try and keep the country at a place where it's as fair as it can be for everyone without disrupting either inflation or anything else. But Trump has played such a ping pong game, it's impossible to follow what the hell he's doing. All he wants to do is stamp his feet and cry that he wants all of his billionaire buddies to get everything for cheaper. Meanwhile, homes and the housing market is dying because no one has any money to buy a house. Only companies like Vanguard, State Street, and BlackRock. And that's exactly why the Fed is doing what they're doing. Hey, Donald, you have a nice freaking Thursday. Stay frosty.